So that all being said, you're going to make sure that's overturned in the best possible way, because like I said, what I read was what you read. I could not manipulate that into anything, and I would really like to know who did, because it really caused a big stir in this whole tribe, and should be fired from interpreting which is not there. That's what I think. Now, Jennifer, there's a lot of people wanting to know excuse me, about you working for Bernard in Greektown. She was a part of this. She was this. She was that. Explain to the people what your job was in Greektown, what you did, how you did it, and was there a purpose for your job even? I'm going to let you take it.
Well, that
Look
last
right
question.
at the camera.
That last question, was there a purpose in it? I didn't see any purpose in why I was there, except...
What was your job title, though?
My job title, I believe my job title was office manager.
Who hired you?
Allard people.
Okay.
My job was, I went into the office, which was a bank building at that time. And this was long before the casino. I don't think we even had a drawing at that point. I forget the years. It was a long time ago. When I went there, I was there by myself, and then they got a secretary. Why? I don't know. We didn't do anything. My job was to be the brown face sitting in there for when media came in, pick up the phone and call my boss, who was Allard Teeple. Bernard Bouchard was not my boss. He was way up here. I brought coffee. I wasn't involved in the meetings, but there was one time I was allowed to go to a meeting up in one of those gigantic suites that they had in the Athenaeum Hotel. I went in, and that's when I saw the blueprints for the Big Bear. I wasn't happy with that. And when I asked, who's going to pay for this? The Greeks are going to pay for this. Do they know this? Or what's the board going to say? When I was told that the board will do whatever I tell them to do, I was so mad.
Who said that?
Bernard Bouchard said that. And he knows I was not happy. I left the room. I was just shocked that somebody felt that the board would do whatever they were told. I was angry. I left. I was mad. Allard Teeple was my boss. I saw Bernard occasionally. He would come down.
Was Allard there that day with you?
Oh yes, yeah. I didn't work for Bernard. If he came down, Allard was doing the work. I'm telling you, my job was answer the phone, be the professional face, the brown Indian face when reporters and that would walk in, because it was big news back then. And I visited with my secretary virtually all day long. It was one of the most boring jobs I ever had in my life. And there was nothing for me to manage.
Should you have gotten paid for that position? Should anybody have had that job?
Well, I think that job needed to have something to do. Do I think that having the office there was a good idea? Yes. Do I think that somebody needed to be there? Yes. Do I think it was handled properly? No. My job was to, take phone messages, fax them up north, things like that. Wasn't any instrumental anybody. I tried one time to have a conversation, because I'd owned my own businesses up to that point. And when I saw what they were doing with proposal E or C, I don't remember, it was the big referendum that they were doing statewide to allow other non-Indian groups to have casinos. I told Allard, you don't want to do that. Do not do that. Why? I said, Harris can come in here and outspend this tribe for 10 years and make us go bankrupt, go right under the table. You don't ever want to let non-Indians have gaming. And I was basically told that I didn't know what I was talking about.
And who told you that?
My boss.
Allard Teeple.
Mm-hmm. I was new and I didn't know anything, and I knew business in Detroit. I knew how that worked. No, it wasn't going to be successful. And I was there a year and a half, I think. I'm not, it's long gone. I left. The more I was there, the angrier I got at what I saw. Now, Allard Teeple was very good to me. He taught me a lot. I met a lot of powerful people down there, but I had nothing to do. I fetched coffee. You know, I still know how Allard takes his coffee. That's what I did. To think that I did anything important, no.
So,
well, except one time. One time, I was put in a position that should have been important, but this was a time when I thought I was probably set up to do that. There was a town meeting that was being held in Detroit, and it was being televised. And they had all these stakeholders, people who could be affected by this casino. There was a panel of us sitting there, and I got put into this. Allard didn't want to do it. Bernard wasn't going to do it. You know, so they stuck me there. And through this whole thing, they wouldn't call on me. They'd asked all the other people sitting there, but the moderator never acknowledged me. And then the lights went out. Then I got mad. And I told them, I said, you know what, I've been sitting here all this time. You didn't call on me one time. All of you were only thinking about your own profits. None of you talked about all those hundreds of people that lined up that one morning when we were taking job applications. I said, no one talked about them. No one talked about those two women, single moms with their babies in the van, waiting to be the first one in line. They took turns standing in line so they could be first. I said, none of you talked about the people who wanted these jobs. I was mad. And you know, people started clapping and cheering. And when I went off stage, Ted Gutierrez came up to me, wrong time, and said, sweetheart, I didn't know you had that in you. I said, there's a lot about me you don't know, Ted. And I was angry. I don't like being treated like that. I didn't like, you know, pat the brown girl on top of the head and leave her sit there. So I was mad. Well, I didn't know that the cameras were still rolling when I was going off on all those people. Too bad. I said the truth.
Well, yeah.
Tell me what I was saying was wrong.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. It was disgusting to me that they didn't give a damn about any of the people who needed jobs. They didn't talk about those. I had to come in really early that morning for work because we knew there was going to be a lot of people. And they were already around the block when I got there.
Oh.
And they didn't care about them. And so that was the only time I think I did anything important to Greektown. And
But
that's not good.
you had nothing to do with Bernard's meetings or anything like that?
Actually, no, because even with his meetings, the wait staff took care of his coffee. I'm sorry. The only time I had to bring coffee to anybody really was when they were in our office, which was like a bank building.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes people would come in there and, you know, I'd be told, oh, how do you want your coffee? Jennifer will go get it. You know, really, I had some fun when I was down there. You know, and I watched people, you know, fall all over the Indians because they were so greedy for their gaming. But really, I met some wonderful people. That's the best part of my job then.
Well, good.
But I didn't.
You know what I find
Bernard,
amazing?
I probably haven't. The whole time I was down there, I probably didn't have 15 minutes of conversation with him.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that. You know what I find amazing is somebody invested $24,000. They're getting $2.5 and $7 million. Why didn't you tell me about that? I had to put this house up 3 times over and invested that.
You know, it's
I mean, where was I? Why didn't you give us that deal? Why didn't the tribe give us that deal?
$2 million.
Yeah, I'd do about 24, maybe as much as I could get for this house.
You know, that was not a good time for me. When I left working for the tribe then, I never wanted to work for the tribe again. I wasn't happy when I left there. I couldn't get away fast enough at that time.
Who was giving these kind of deals out though? Who actually? I have to wonder.
It's me. I was just the coffee fetcher. I couldn't tell you.
Oh God!
You know, and you know,
$24,000 and they're getting 2.7 and some more than that, and it's like,
well, you know, the whole scenario to me was ridiculous.
Oh,
when I was there.
Think?
When I was there, I'd sit there and I'd watch this stuff, and it just wasn't good.
And then
I got to sit once in a while. I got to sit with them at breakfast when it was like Ted and them were holding court. I probably saw Getsaris more than I ever saw Bernard. Because when Bernard would come in, Ted would come flying in. The chairman is coming. The chairman is coming. I said, so?
Yeah.
You got to clean the desk. You got to do this. And it's like, it wasn't a good experience down there. But I met some very fine people when I was down there.
Yeah, that's what you said.
And my son got to get a glove signed by all the Red Wings. but that it just wasn't anything that I would put on a resume. I didn't do anything.
Okay. Now that being said, I've got to bring this point up too, because you've seen a lot of it in the STG. Now I know that maybe you and Debbie Pine might be friends. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you, I'll have to say it like this, do you vote the way she wants you to vote? It seems like your votes are always the same. It seems like that. And you two are kind of always the same. Always the same. Tell the people about that. How, and you know what they think about her, so,
Yeah, I've seen what they've written about Debbie.
When you be
nobody tells me what to vote. Nobody tells me how to think, and nobody tells me what to do. There's nobody on that board who has that kind of influence on me. If you look at, if you could see the sequence of when people are asked to vote, I don't follow Debbie most of the time. She might be after me. I do my own thinking, right or wrong, and there are some things that she and I have had some very heated discussions because we don't agree. We don't agree. Some of my no votes recently have been on, not on the substance of what we're voting on, but say on a policy, following policy, those kinds of things. But I went into Aaron's office and I told him, you and I need to talk, and explained to him, I don't follow anybody blindly. And I told him that applies to him as well. I said, I was raised that way, and I don't do it. I just don't do it. And I told Aaron the story about, I was trained that way from the time I was little. My dad, and I told him the story how my dad taking me out in the woods, and I was following in his footsteps, and one time we got out there and he said, all right, which way's the car? I don't know. I said, well, take us back to the car. I don't know where it's at. And my dad said, what would happen if something happened to me? What are you going to do? He says, so right now something has happened to me, you find it's back to the car. I stopped and I'm thinking, oh, it's way back. And I pointed in the direction. My dad said, are you sure? No. He said, then wait till you're sure. And I waited and I tried to retrace our steps and I pointed another direction. He said, well, if you think that's the way, let's go. He didn't give me a hint of if I was right or not. And when I finally saw that car, I was so relieved. But my dad said, don't you ever let anybody do your thinking for you. Not even me.
That's a good example.
And I don't. And people can get mad at me for what I think.
No, but I'm glad you went into the chairman's office and said, look, I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote on my own conscience. Mm-hmm. So that's letting, and I think that was wise of you to do that, because he knows that now. Well, and the thing of it is I'm probably thinking he's accepting that and he likes it because it's not another Bernard.
Well, no, I got upset with Aaron the night before we had that conversation, because he made a remark thinking that someone else was doing my thinking for me. And I got upset with him.
Well, I can see his point because we were all getting it.
But I told him that I was insulted that he thinks that I'm not capable of having an original thought. I was mad.
Well,
and then the next day, I thought, and I took tobacco into him and I said, we need to talk. And I explained to him, I don't follow anybody's way. You know, I make up my own mind. And I won't be, and I told him this too, I said, and I won't be pushed into making a decision before I'm ready. I won't do it. You give me something at the meeting and want me to make up my mind on it, I won't do it. And that was when he gave us the flow chart, the org chart. At the meeting, he gave us 3 new versions. I'm looking at this, I'm like, what? Now, all the other people who've been on this board longer and all, they knew what he was talking about. I didn't. And I said, there is no way I'm going to vote yes just because you say so. I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to do it because these other board members are saying yes too. I'm not doing it. I'm not here to be anybody's yes person, and that includes you. I mean no disrespect, but I won't do this. And you need to understand that about me. If you want me to do this thing, yeah, we did. It was a good
long talk.
Yeah. But I won't do that. And he seems to understand that about me now. He knows I don't follow anybody else's lead.
Well, that's good, because we were all getting it. And you know, I just asked you the question, are you following mine? Yeah, I just asked you that.
I don't follow anybody.
Because we were all getting it. You know, that she tells you when to jump and how high. And I'm thinking, okay. I just couldn't see it myself. I really couldn't, but, you know, and especially coming from her, is like, okay.
You know, this isn't any offense to Deb or to anyone. Nobody tells me to jump and how high.
Well, that's good.
Nobody.
That's what I want to hear.